I feel like immigration can be demotivating sometimes. I started doing therapy. Every woman should know how to take care of herself and of herself in the first place. So you.
Welcome back to another episode of Second Chance Superstars, where we talk to people that have overcome major obstacles, whether it's starting over from substance abuse, whether it's coming from prison and coming back to society, restorative justice, whether it's a divorce or whether it's a health issue, whether it's an injury. We talk about those things it takes for people to overcome major obstacles in their life. My good friend, Keith Reed, God rest his soul, used to say, a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback. And so we have different types of guests. We have some people all of us know. And then we have some people that you've never met before. And in our studio today is a very, very, very special guest. This person came from another country. I think you pronounce it Kazakhstan. Is that right?
Yeah, Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan to the United States, and how she transitioned and the things she had to learn and do to come from another country to America, becoming a software engineer and learning 3 or 4 different things that she's getting a degree in. I happen to have met her in my neighborhood on a walk, and she is so amazing, the things that she's learned and things that she's done. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Olga Neely. Welcome, Olga.
Hello, Kevin. Thank you for having me here.
Well, let's just start with who you are. You know, I kind of talked to you a few times, and you sent me some narrative on your life and things that you've gone through. Tell us about where you grew up and about that country, and then how you came to the United States.
Yes, absolutely. I was born in Kazakhstan. My hometown's name is Karaganda. I was born there on October 19, 1988. I'm from a middle-class family. My mother used to work in a bank, and my stepfather is a mining engineer. So I just lived a basic middle-class life in Kazakhstan. And in 2017, my mother won a green card, so we decided to move to the United States and start over. And it was a very interesting journey so far.
Well, it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
You have siblings, so how many siblings are there, and what order are you in?
So I'm the oldest sibling. I have a sister. She is 11 years old right now. Her name is Paulina. My family lives in Chicago, Illinois. She lives there with our mother and her father. And initially, when we moved here, it was just me and my sister. And in 2017, 2018, my sister was only 3 years old. So when we moved here, it was just me and my mother and a child, basically. So I obviously had to step in and help to take care of her and find a job. I wasn't able to finish college because we had to move here. So I started looking for a job, and we had to pay bills together and learn all of that from scratch.
Oh my goodness. So you're in a new country and you had to stop your schooling to have a job and help take care of your siblings and your family?
Yeah.
Was that hard?
Yes, it was hard, specifically because basically yesterday you were a student and you could skip a class or don't do your homework, or maybe do your homework, or maybe go on a date with someone from your college or something like that. And the next day you're in a new country and you have an obligation to find a job because you have to help the family. And you don't have a choice whether to do it or not to do. So it's a really hard transition. It's a very big cognitive and mental load. So it was hard, but this is definitely something doable.
Well, so you went from a freelance college student to responsibility that you couldn't deny. You had to be responsible. So what's the first kind of job that you got?
So the first job that I had, it was customer service. I found the job maybe one or two or a few months after we moved here, which was pretty fast. I'm obviously glad about it. But it's a hard job to work at, specifically for me too, because I'm a bit introverted and I didn't really want to talk to people every day. And it was also hard because of my accent. I still have a pretty strong Russian accent, and I feel like people understand me most of the time, but when you work in customer service, people sometimes can get mad at you for things that you don't even control. And I was insulted several times over the phone by the clients before because of my accent.
Wow. So, did you already speak English before you came to this country?
Yes, I've been learning English for quite a while, pretty much since childhood. But I believe by the time when I was 14, I already knew English pretty well.
So, were you learning English because you knew you were coming to America, or were you learning English to deal with English-speaking people in your country?
So, well, I learned English because we always felt like we would move somewhere else, not necessarily to the United States, but we always knew we would leave the country, specifically because we are Russians. And in Kazakhstan, there is still an issue with a bit of nationalism towards Russian people. I've came across several situations where Kazakh people could be a little bit nationalistic. Not all of them, obviously. And
So, when you say nationalist, is that like prejudice?
Yes, a bit of prejudice. So, for instance, it's easier to find a job when you're Kazakh. It's easier to find a job not only because you may be Kazakh, but because you know Kazakh language better, and because you may have some relatives that already work there. So, and I've had several situations with teachers when they were prejudiced against Russian students or Russia in general. So,
Wow. That's very interesting. As a black man, it's very interesting to see someone as beautiful as you and your skin, that you still can have racism or prejudice because of the language you speak or the place that you're from geographically, and not even your skin color. Is that right?
yes, basically, pretty much. Well, I feel like prejudice can take any sort of form and it can be anywhere.
Wow.
So it doesn't really matter.
So you come to this country and you're having to start all over, and so you get a customer service job. Well, then that gave you a lot of practice speaking. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When I learned English in Kazakhstan, it was mostly British English because it's a standard English overall. When you start learning English language as your second language, you mostly start from British accent and British way of speaking, basically. So when we came here, it was a bit hard for me to understand American accent. But customer service job definitely helped me to get this practice and to start understanding different people from different parts of the country and different accents.
Well, so not only did you have to learn to speak, but you had to learn to understand different types of people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so customer service, that was your job, that was to help your family. And then what did you do next? What did you do next after that?
So I started software engineering when I was 16. I decided that I wanted to be a software engineer, but then by that age, and I started learning everything myself. So when we came here to the United States, I already had 2 or 3 years of experience learning software engineering, and I was able to create something already, but I haven't had a job before. And at that company where I had a customer service job, I was able to get into software engineering too, because I mentioned that I have the skill. And they allowed me to help with websites, to participate in website creation, to do some certain website migrations, to do software engineering, basically. So I kind of did both for a while. And after that, I was able to get a full-time job at an agency as a software engineer.
So what you learned in Kazakhstan about software engineering and what you learned in America, did they match? Were they similar?
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah. Software engineering is pretty much the same everywhere. The only thing that might be different is just the way you comment things. Obviously, it would be a different language. If I'm in Kazakhstan, I would obviously make comments in code in Russian or in Kazakh. And when I'm here in the United States, everything would be in English.
Okay, so is coding part of software engineering or is it different? Coding, is that part of it?
Yes. Yes, I would say so. Obviously, it's a big part of software engineering, but it also depends on your level as a software engineer. Because when you're a junior software engineer, you code all the time. You get a list of features that have to be implemented, and some other people prioritize them for you. Because you're a junior, you don't know how to prioritize at that moment. And you just code all those features and someone else checks your code and sees whether something has to be fixed or not. When you're mid-level, you pretty much code all the time too, but you can also see, well, how can I prioritize what is more important, what is less important. So it's more about thinking how you do that rather than just doing it. And you learn and practice more of the coding narratives of how to do it properly, what are the best practices. By the time you're a software engineer, you pretty much learn a lot about all the practices. You still code a lot, but you also prioritize. You may go ahead and say, well, why do we need this specific feature? Because for a software engineer, it's also very important to ask why you have to do something rather than just doing it. Because business can have certain needs, but they don't know exactly how to make them work necessarily in terms of coding and in terms of software. And you have to be able to say, well, why do we need this feature to look like that specifically? Maybe we can do it better in terms of user experience or user interface. Maybe it can be easier to use or more understandable for the end user. So it just takes a lot. And by the time you reach the leading position, you start thinking about processes more than coding itself.
Okay, so is that the next level, computer processing?
You could say that, not necessarily computer processing, but processes and being able to combine business ideas with code, how to tie them together, how to make it all work, and basically how to translate business needs to code.
So is AI, artificial intelligence, is it the ultimate in coding and software engineering, or what part did software engineering play with artificial intelligence?
That's a great question. I feel like artificial intelligence is a great tool. It can help a lot. I use it all the time for many different things. For instance, when I'm writing a letter, I obviously want to make sure that it's written grammatically correct. So I check it using ChatGPT or some other services that are specifically for grammar, like Grammarly or some other stuff. But when you're a software engineer, you definitely don't want to lose your craft. So you should not allow AI to write all the code for you. Of course, sometimes you don't feel as good and you have to do something, or maybe you just don't know how to do certain things the exact way. So you can reach out for help, definitely, and it can help you to go through some sort of terrible documentation of a specific tool that is really hard to understand. But you shouldn't put all the responsibility on AI, because if you stop coding yourself and you just let AI do all of that for you, you will just lose your skill.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is, did it take a lot of software engineers to make ChatGPT and make these other artificial intelligence tools? Was that done by software engineers or coders?
Yeah, I believe when they did ChatGPT and all of that. So basically, I think that's a mix of specialists. Obviously, it's people who can create large language models, and who can work with data science and who can work with machine learning. And in order to create the interface, for example, ChatGPT, it has its own website and it has its own app. So to tie this large language model to a website, you have to have certain software engineers to do that, to create this interface where a user can go to a website and input their prompt and to get a response. So it takes all sorts of specialists.
Okay, so when I think about computers and the class that I took about on computer science early in my life, I realized that it was simply if this, then that. If this, then that. If this, then that. What part of computer science and software engineering or coding is that process when you write I don't know, you don't call it a rhythm. What do you call the map that says when you turn on the television, if you push this button, this is going to happen. If you push this button, what is that called?
Well, that's actually a good way to describe the whole software engineering thing because it's pretty much the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, you just 99% of the time you really write a lot of if-else statements or switch statements or anything like that. But yes, this is just conditioning. You can call it conditioning. So for instance, when you are writing a context menu that pops up or shows up when you right-click on a mouse, you would basically create some sort of function that says if right button on the mouse is clicked, then shows this context menu.
Okay. So that kind of tells us that. So back to what we were talking about starting new things and learning new things. So that seemed like that was very difficult for you when you came to this country and you thrown into this responsibility. Did it affect you emotionally? Did it make you have doubts? Did it make you feel discouraged at some time? Or it was easy?
No, it was actually really hard. I feel like immigration can be very demotivating sometimes. For me specifically, because as I said, we are a middle-class family, so we didn't have plenty of resources to just start living some sort of fancy life, and we had to start over and actually find jobs. And it was not necessarily the most high-paying jobs because my mother, she used to work in a bank, but when we moved here, her first job was a nanny in a kindergarten. So
a nanny? Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in terms of emotionally, yes, it definitely affected me. I definitely felt at some point that I'm depressed. I started having panic attacks every day, multiple times a day. I started smoking, and I smoked a lot. And what else? I just had anxiety all the time, and because of that, obviously, my body didn't feel good. So mentally and physically, it was really hard too, and I had to deal with that as well.
So did you just over time overcome it? Or did you have to have help spiritually or therapy or anything that helped you deal with all of this stress?
Yes. Basically, when I came to that point when I felt like I have a lot of suicidal thoughts, and if I keep going that way, I will not live for a very long time, I decided that this is the point where I have to change something. And I started doing therapy, specifically Gestalt therapy. I really recommend people to try it because it worked really well on me. And it definitely changed my life. It changed the ways that I think. It changed basically anything pretty much. It changed how I look. It changed how I speak. And it changed how I valued myself. So it was life-changing for me.
You said Gestalt therapy. And so what's unique about Gestalt versus other types of therapy?
So usually when you come to the United States, there are obviously different options of therapy, but the most popular is cognitive behavioral therapy. And I believe from what I've learned, from what I've experienced, and from what I've read and I've seen, and I studied psychology by myself for 10 years. Cognitive behavioral therapy is something that should be used together with something else, because on its own, it will not necessarily help a lot. You may, basically, how it works is if you have a negative belief, you just start telling yourself that well, this is a negative belief, and you have to switch it to a positive belief. So, for instance, if you think that I'm stupid, you have to start thinking, well, I'm smart, and I'm smart because of this, and that, and basically rationalize it and make yourself come to a conclusion that actually this is just a limiting belief and it's not truth. I'm actually really smart, and blah, blah, blah. But it's not going to help with anything that happens with a person. Sometimes you have to actually do something, do some sort of exercise. So Gestalt therapy or psychodrama or some other methods within therapy, they actually help a person to replay a specific traumatic event and to end it on a positive note. And then with this sort of methods, you can definitely add some cognitive behavioral therapy on top, because you would basically get rid of the negative belief in the first place. Because when you're just telling yourself, well, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart, you still have a negative belief that you're stupid, but it's just deep down within yourself. And it won't change your behavior much. But with Gestalt or with psychodrama, you can actually change it on basically a brain level. Well, I am not a licensed therapist. That's how I see it, that's how I perceive it, and that's how I experience. So.
But you experienced it. And so is the difference. See, one is telling yourself and trying to retrain the brain to believe something different. So does Gestalt include some type of activity? How is it different from somebody just telling you, no, you are smart? What would Gestalt therapy do differently?
Well, specifically in Gestalt or psychodrama, the thing is, the only people who can actually influence a person is their family. No one else can influence them very much. What happens with people usually is if they meet someone, they start projecting the qualities of their family on the specific person because this person reminds them of someone, and they start putting a lot of feelings that are actually not related to this person at all. That's why if someone tells you that you're smart, you won't really care, because who are you to tell me that I'm smart? I'm not listening to you. But when you're working within therapy, within Gestalt or within psychodrama, you primarily work with your family because they're the most important people for you.
They come and they're part of it?
No, they don't come. It's just certain exercises when you think of them or talk of them, or you imagine like here in this chair, your mother is sitting and you tell her something, and then you sit on her and you speak from her to yourself. And for your brain, it doesn't make a difference whether it's actually your mother or it's just an empty chair.
So you're revisiting
thoughts
and things that you've been trained and experiences. Very, very interesting. And so once you learn that and start to go back and unpack some of these foundations of some of these problems, then how did it help you? How did you start to change?
I changed in many different ways. First of all, it really changed my relationship with my family. I started having a better relationship with them, better relationship with my mother, better relationship with my stepfather, better relationship with my sister. I started to talk more to them. I started to talk more to my grandfather. It changed how much I earn too, because I started to take responsibility for myself, and I started to see value in myself and my skills as well. So I started to actually look for places where I could earn equally to what I cost as a software engineer.
Wow. So it even changed how much you value yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Pretty much when it comes to therapy, what you're doing is you're growing yourself from your child state to your adult state, and you're basically embracing your inner adult, and you start living from this adult's position, and start making decisions and take your own responsibility and decide for yourself what I like, what I don't like, how you can and how you cannot speak to me, and put boundaries with people and with yourself too.
Wow. So it really built your self-esteem, is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, when you start to build self-esteem and you start to move forward, and how do you, because did you grow up poor, middle class, or upper middle class, or wealthy?
It was middle class, nothing fancy.
So becoming a software engineer, did that raise your level of class, or is that middle class?
It definitely raised my level. I think at that point I'm around upper middle class probably.
So how hard is it to see yourself going from customer service to software engineer? That's a big difference in the way you're treated, the way you're respected, how much money you make. What helps you to be able to do that? Because some people they have a hard time believing their worth going from this pay to this pay. How do you do that?
Well, you're the one who decides how much you're worth, basically.
Whoa.
No one else can do that for you. If you think that you're not worthy of anything, you won't be worthy of anything.
So that sounds like cognitive. That sounds like cognitive. If you think,
yeah, yeah, that's basically you have to decide for yourself that you're worthy, and you have to start to treat yourself like you are worthy.
So how you can, an indicator of what a person thinks about themselves is how they treat themselves?
Yes, how they treat themselves, how they treat other people too, how they take care of themselves, what food they eat, how they exercise, how they sleep, what they do for themselves. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
Oh, so you're saying that if I'm trying to raise my value in life, I have to change my habits,
yes,
the way that I think. I need to start operating at a higher level even before I get there?
Yes, of course. You have to dress for the job you want.
Not the job you're in.
Yes.
Dress for the job you want. You dressed really well today, so I can tell that you have a high value of yourself. So if you were telling some young lady that's struggling right now with tough choices and things that makes her depressed and down, and she doesn't see herself getting to this big goal that she had for herself, what would you say she needs to do each day to go from being distraught and feeling down to success?
Well, I feel like every woman should know how to take care of herself in the first place. So you have to wake up every day and think, what can I do today to make myself feel better? What can I do in order to change my life? Not because I feel obligated, but because I want to make myself feel better and I want to have something different in life. And sometimes I feel like people in hard circumstances, they feel ashamed of them, or they feel bad or unworthy that they're in some sort of situation. And this is definitely something people should be getting rid of, because there is nothing wrong in being in different situations. Life happens with everyone, so what's important is what you do with it. What sort of thoughts you have, basically, how you think of it and what you change about it, and how you operate after this sort of situations.
So do you think you think a person should say out loud to other people the problems that they have?
Not like that, but I think it's important to talk about your problems to people, not just come up to every stranger and talk to them about it. But when it's appropriate, there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong in telling other people about struggles that you have, or what you're working on, or what you've done already. There is nothing wrong with it.
So if I'm transitioning from the legislature and starting a consulting company. So it's very hard for me to go from a big staff and being treated this way to doing this and trying to create something like we're doing today. And it was so I was talking to my friends and I said, I really have some talents. I think I can do some great things. And they said, well, you need to start letting people know. Mm-hmm. Letting people know that you need a contract or you need to start something. And then, and that was kind of hard for me. Now, I'm a little bit of an introvert, but being a politician, I have to have extroverted ways a lot. I'm an introvert with the problems that I'm having in my home or in my family. I've been open about overcoming drug addiction, but other things I don't really share, And so I got advice to start having coffees with people and talking to people and saying, hey, I'm starting something new and letting them know and ask them for help. And it did change my life. And so with you, when you start having challenges, like you wanted a new job or you start taking new classes or you wanted to have start a new profession, being an introvert, was that hard for you?
Yes, of course. It was specifically hard when I worked at customer service, but when I transitioning to being a software engineer full-time, it started to get a lot better because I only had to speak to other software engineers who are introverts too. So it was pretty good. But obviously, when you're looking for a new job or when you're starting something new, it can be hard to start telling everyone about yourself and what you're going to do. Like, for instance, at the moment, I'm working on creating my own software engineering agency too. Wow. I'm working on my own business. And for me, it's also a bit challenging to start talking about it. And I know that at some point I will have to go ahead and change my LinkedIn and start posting about it and start hiring people and to have conversations with my clients that I'm going to have. And it's going to be challenging, but it's also going to be really fun and it's going to be a new experience that I get to have. So I start thinking about it positively and I try to keep thinking about it positively, that it's just something new that I have to learn and something that I have to experience.
Well, when you think about starting something new, mm-hmm. do you believe that you have to just start it and go through the uncomfort and grow and grow and grow and you'll get good at it? Or do you think that you start something and you soar with your strengths and you associate with other people to manage their weaknesses and get other people to help you to do those things? Or do you feel like you need to learn all of those things?
I think that it depends on the person. There are many ways of how to do that, and I think all of the ways are great. It just depends on your needs and what you can currently do. So if you can start learning all of that yourself and not delegate, then you can obviously do that for a while. But at some point, you will have to start delegating, start to invite more people, and start to have more people around you to do the job. Because small teams, they can be very effective, but large teams, they are more effective with time and they run further.
And so that's the only way to scale and make your business bigger. Is that what you believe?
Yeah. Obviously, sometimes a big business can only have 2 people, but most of the time you will have to scale, you will have to start delegating.
And getting other people.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, the things that you've learned that were not you were an introvert, you were a customer service person, to get from here to there, was it more reading books or was it more meeting people that helped you?
Mm-hmm. I think a big part in it was therapy. Because helping yourself to open up and to not be shy and to not feel like people will not accept you or people will not like talking to you. And therapy definitely helped me with that. Because you have to be confident in yourself and it's going to be easier to talk to people if you're confident.
Wow. So the confidence that I'm seeing, you learned that or were you that way all the time?
Kind of both. Both of it, because some of it, obviously, you had to change the way you think about yourself and life in general to start being confident. And some of it is just comes with other things you do and other things you achieve, and you start feeling more confident with time overall.
Well, we've got about 5 or 6 more minutes. And so, Olga, it has been, I've really enjoyed getting to meet you and getting to know you and finding out about a whole nother other world that I didn't know about. Not only did I not know about your country, but I didn't know anything about software engineering, and I'm learning from you and talking to you. But if you were looking at yourself today and yourself 10 years earlier, are there things that you would tell the younger you about how to be successful a lot faster and better? Is there, because there's people that are listening to this, that'll be watching this, that are wondering, what do they need to do now to go from here to here? What would you tell your younger self or younger girls that want to be you?
Well, first of all, you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Anyone can do anything they want. Everything is possible. You just have to put your mind to it and start working towards the specific thing. I'm really proud of myself that I started to do software engineering at 16 years old. It was a huge investment in my life, and it allowed me to become a senior software engineer by the age of 25, pretty much. And why I'm saying that is because the earlier you realize what you actually want in life, the faster you will get to it. Also, I would tell myself and all other girls that want to grow up and be successful that you have to keep learning. You have to learn a lot, and you need to educate yourself and find ways to get more education. I believe that the less privileged your background is, the more you have to learn.
Wow. Now that's a powerful statement. The less privileged your background, the more you have to learn. So learning is very, very important, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. Learning is very important, especially at the young age, because I'm 26 right now, and it's already harder to learn than it was when I was 18.
So how many degrees do you have now, and how many do you plan to have?
Well, at that moment, I don't have any degrees yet.
You're working on what?
I'm working on getting a degree in application development and pre-med at Tulsa Community College. And I want to get several more degrees on top of that. And after that, I want to transition to Oklahoma University. And my end goal is I want to get an MD and PhD at neuroscience.
Wow. Neuroscience, medicine, and software engineering. Now, do you think that one helps the other?
Absolutely. I'm specifically interested in neuroscience because I can apply my software engineering skills over there. I can combine both of these fields, and basically I'm really interested in computational neuroscience. So this is the field of the future, and I'm really looking forward to working with it.
What type of neuroscience?
Computational neuroscience.
Computation, because it sounds like you're, if I'm listening to you and I'm receiving what you're saying, that the nervous system is much like a computer system.
It's kind of similar. Our computers, they are not as complex as us at that moment, but I feel like we will get to it at some point.
But if you can understand the computer system and the fact that when our mind sends a signal, it has to go someplace and certain things happen. Is that what the nervous system is about? When you're talking about neuroscience, what do you think is the benefit of learning it, and what do neuroscientists make happen with people's body?
So I'm specifically interested in neuroscience from the point of a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm really interested in this sort of things. And for instance, what I learned recently is every time a person has a depression or they feel down or depressed, specifically depressed, because of cortisol that is being sent to the brain and because of some other chemical processes, a lot of things change within the brain. Even on synaptic level, and synaptic level is basically the space between two neurons. So basically our body can change a lot because of different emotions we feel, and I want to be able to study that, to study our brain, to see how it connects with our mental health and how to make it better. Also, neuroscience is very important for cases when we want to learn about Alzheimer's disease or anything related to neurodegeneration.
That is very good. So, what do you, when we think about neuroscience and we talk about what happens in our body, how important or unimportant are drugs? Because right now, Big Pharma gives a drug for everything, for every feeling and those types of things. Do you think that what you know about neuroscience, will that reduce the amount of drugs people need to take to solve problems, or it will better channel those drugs?
I would love to see less people taking so many drugs and antidepressants because they obviously have different side effects. And I feel like certain issues, they can be fixed with just having good therapy. It can be really hard to find a good therapist, and I highly recommend anyone who has certain struggles to try Gestalt therapy or psychodrama. But at some point in my life, I had taken antidepressants, and they were not good for me. I didn't feel good after them. They rather made me hysterical than normal.
Well, so in neuroscience, you're studying how the nervous system works and the signals the brain sends through the body. And so how does that play into people's personalities and what they're able to do in the way that they think? How does neuroscience play into that?
Well, absolutely. The brain really affects how a person feels, and different chemical processes within the brain too. Levels of dopamine can change a lot in humans' behavior. For instance, some cases of schizophrenia, they're specifically related with dopamine imbalance. And there are several dopamine systems within one's brain, and different sort of disbalances in every one of them can really affect a person to the point where they have schizophrenia.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you're well on your way to success. It seems like you have goals set for yourself. It seems like you positioned yourself and you're highly motivated. And I'm hoping that our audience, just like me, are inspired by a young person like this that came to a new country, came to a new situation, and has continually transitioned to what will be what I believe will be a tremendously successful career. We're wanting to motivate you. We're wanting for you to understand that you're not the only one if you're transitioning. You're not the only one if you're going through something tough. You're not the only one that has had a setback, but is set up for a comeback. Just like Olga. Well, Olga, I want to thank you again for coming in. Do you have any last words for our audience?
Learn, learn, and learn.
Learn, learn, and learn. And you're going to learn how to subscribe to our podcast on Patreon and join our inner circle. Thank you from Kevin Matthews and Second Chance Superstar. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching this episode. To see episodes early, subscribe to my Patreon with the link below. You also get bonus content. You get to decide who I talk to or what I talk about. And after every episode, I get on there and talk about what we learned from each episode. So join our Patreon today, and I want you to be part of my Second Chance Redemption Circle, a movement of second chances, power, and purpose.